ISIS, I would say Al-Qaeda doesn't represent that ideology. But Saif, I would also say that, even 969, do you know who the 969 are?
969er?
969 terrorist group.
No. Is it the... I know the 7/11...
that was a terrorist attack that took place in London. No.
Oh, no, okay.
969 is an extremist Buddhist group. Yeah, and that is the main extremist Buddhist group. But I would question why you don't know, because a lot of Muslims have died in Myanmar because of the 969. Have you heard, I know I mentioned RSS, have you heard of the Hindutva group?
I think so, yeah. I wrote a small, I work a little bit in this domain, so yes. Yeah.
Very good. When's the last time that you heard or you saw the Hindutva being covered in the mainstream media in this country?
Well, no, that has not been covered. I don't watch British media, so I cannot speak for that, but I can say in general, it's not a topic that's covered.
But Saif, I've been following Indian news for, I would say, the best part of half a year to a year. And I'm telling you, there's certain things that have happened in the last couple of weeks. In fact, last week, this was an issue. This happened in India, where there were protests taking place against the police. And there was somebody that was attacked, and there was a journalist who went and he stomped on the face. In Assam, in India. Yeah, still in India. So he stomped on the face of this Muslim. Yeah, and the police were there. They were very reluctantly, they kind of pulled him away. And then you could see a policeman was hugging him thereafter. You now compare this with Dylan Roof in America when he did a mass shooting. Yeah, after doing a mass shooting in the church, he went with the police and said, barefaced, "I'm hungry." And the police took him for Burger King. Yeah, the point that I'm trying to say, Saif, is there is a clear bias. Yeah, and the bias is very, very clear. Yeah, and to then say that, okay, it's Islam, I will say, look, there's extreme elements everywhere. However, I would argue, Saif, with the extreme elements in Islam, it's being facilitated. It's being facilitated by certain countries for their nefarious ends. And I agree with you. And you mentioned this point, and I agree with you that these points are not planted in by the West. I'm not going to make that fallacious reasoning. It exists there, just like it exists with any other ideology, any other faith or religion, in any other household. Like if my child watches inappropriate things. If Saif, I now allow him, I give him a laptop for his room, I don't check his internet history. What I'm doing is I'm facilitating for that desire in him and that addiction to pornography and the likes to grow. However, when I'm kind of on it, I'm like, no, let's have a discussion, mate. Why do you feel the need to do that? Yeah, and you know what? I'm not giving you a device for your room. You're going to watch it in the sitting room where it's a family room, etc. But what I'm arguing is, just like with Hillary Clinton and of course the CIA and the Mujahideen fighting Soviet Union, and even in Iran in about 1951, they had a leader, Mohammad Mossadegh. Yeah, despite his name, he's very secular. And he's the smile, you know Mohammad Mossadegh? Okay. He was a democratically elected leader. Iran was very liberal, democratic. Yeah, the West would see it and think, wow, what a liberalized country. Yeah. However, Mohammad Mossadegh made a mistake. He made a mistake of trying to nationalize BP, British Petroleum. The British had a big problem with that. Yeah, and when they had a big problem with that, they didn't look whether it was democracy or not democracy. Thereafter, what they did was they noticed the dissenting voices there, and I would suggest don't take my word for it. There is an academic, Mark Curtis, he talks about this. You can read from neutral historians about what happened with Mohammad Mossadegh, because it's very important to modern day Iran that we see today. And what happened, Saif, was with BP, that was their main thing. And the Ayatollahs were the other groups. And they started kind of going with them and assisting them. And the Shah came in, and then there was a brutal dictatorship, and thereafter the Ayatollahs came in. They received support. Now, I agree with you that the Ayatollahs, their mentality was not given by the West. However, it was fostered and festered.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah?
I think we're good on this one.
Yeah, it's the same with the Hindutva. Like it's argued that there's this in India, Pakistan, there was this ideology that, you know, before it was Hindustan, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, and then there was a split. Yeah, Pakistan, which was supposed to be a majority Muslim country, and India, majority Hindu country. And there was this mentality of kind of separation. Yeah, but the thing now is, people argue that, oh, there is extreme elements in India. But however, Saif, any leader that came, yeah, they did not entertain the extreme Hindu element. But what happened was, at that time, well, sorry, not at that time, at this time now, because the leader, Modi, is from RSS, which again has correlatable similarities with Nazism also. This again is, you can read it in Intercept and Guardian, and a lot of academics talk about its similarities to the Nazi mentality. In fact, it's mapped on the RSS, you can research this, mapped on the Nazi mentality. And even the Brits, they have issue with that, but because the trade is so good with India, in fact, the mere presence of Priti Patel, one of the impetus or one of the positive things was how Britain can have a good relationship with Modi and with India. And that's why they took them off the red list before Pakistan, even though their COVID cases were very high. There's a lot of issues, but the point that I'm trying to say safe is now it's safe. Oh, it's safe. It's safe for India to light the flames of extreme Hindu mentality to such a degree, Saif. Check this out. I mean, you've done research as well. You know the amount of lynchings that take place on a regular basis in India. Now it's gone to legislation that Muslims are being kept out. Like, we're accepting immigrants from Christian immigrants, Sikh immigrants, and other immigrants, but Muslims are deliberately being left out. Point that I'm trying to say, Saif, I'm sure you've agreed as well, that there is, and the argument same applies with Saudi, that if Saudi was such an oppressive country and all of this, why is it that the West has been aligning itself with Saudi and has not been giving it liberating the women there, not been giving it a democracy, even though
international politics, my background is in political science. International politics can be explained out of multiple theories, liberalism, Marxism, but the ones that is most relevant here is realism. Realism is all about power, all about interest, and it's how most states operate in the international context, because there's no rules, there's no laws, there's no courts really. And I agree, the Hindu government, the Modi government is not a good example of where states should be in this day and age. I agree that in Pakistan it's the same. In Pakistan it's kind of maybe a little bit of the opposite, where also other minorities are being attacked and being accused of blasphemy when they do. I've written personally a lot of articles about minorities in Pakistan being attacked and temples being sacked because of certain, I think, non-important blasphemy cases. I hope that both those countries move towards a civil state where people are equal, people are free, and people have dignity and rights despite where they.
I hope so too.
I really hope that is in the future.
So I guess just for the viewers that are watching, I guess what I wanted to unpack was this kind of ISIS, Al-Qaeda groups, and it's good that we managed to kind of unpack this to show that there is a disjunct. There is more of an emphasis towards what Islam and Muslims are doing, and because of what is happening, and I think this is one of the points that I missed, certain leaders, certain groups are filling that void of, for example, you know, in Afghanistan, again, both of these articles you can find in The Guardian, like Afghanis that were killed, their bodies were urinated on, yeah, and then those, it was in The Guardian that soldiers, they had to, you know, there was disciplinary things going on, but this is ridiculous. They were kind of a dead Afghan's prosthetic leg. They put beer in it and they were drinking from it. They were cutting off fingers of dead Afghans and putting it as trophies. I imagine this is information safe that's filtered to us. Imagine now if you are living in that country and that's happened to your father, that's happened to your mother. and day in, day out, there's drone attacks. Like I'm sure you've been following what's going on in Afghanistan. I mean, it's difficult not to because it's in our faces with the front covers. And they said this is about a couple of weeks ago, a drone attack, about 20 people died, or it was by accident, sorry. Yeah, and even Australia, they apologize for what happened in Afghanistan and we're disciplining our people. But sorry, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. What about the people there? They need answers straight away. You wake up and your father and mother's gone, and somebody comes and offers a solution. He claims to be an imam or whatnot, but safe. We have ways, like we have a sanad. Yeah, if I am to learn Quran, or if I am to learn Islamic knowledge from you, I need to make sure that there is a chain. You studied from your teacher, you studied from their teacher, there's a chain that goes to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I check your credentials. Yeah, you have a good standing in society, safe. But the problem is, anyone can claim to be an imam. Imam just means...
And I'll tell you, in Syria, there is people that are known to be very bad people, very non-religious, that became heads of like Islamic militias, which is very funny. Well, the problem, I think, in Syria, let's say, when people revolted against Assad, we have been living under a dictatorship for so long that people don't even know what liberalist is, what a socialist is, what a communist is. Those words in a George Orwellian way were taken off people's dictionary. Therefore, the motivation factor, how we can push people to go and fight and maybe be willing to die or motivate them against the dictator, fell into religion. And that is, I think, because of a lack of political consciousness. So in certain
let me give you an example, Saif. And apologies because I have to pray as well, but I've thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with you. I thought it was really stimulating, and I hope we're going to have it again. Are you here next week as well?
I hope I will come back. It was really nice to be here.
Very good. It was just in my mind. What was the last thing that you said you might trigger?
About lack of ideology, therefore religion can be motivation, about certain non-religious people who became leaders of militia, stuff like that. Like, for them, religion filled the void. And if they were Hindu, that would have been like their motivational factor to form a militia. And because they were Muslim, that was... So I think...
It's like, you know, even when you talk about the first suicide bombers, Tamil Tigers, yeah, political ideology, then you had a group, it's a Jewish group, yeah, then they would do that. And then in fact, Saif, there's a really good book by Pape, it's called Dying to Win. And he's looked at suicide cases, suicide bombing cases, and he concluded that pre-9/11, pre-Iraq, the cases were very minimal, in fact negligible. Yeah. However, as the surge of colonization and illegal warfare increased, and I would also say, don't take my word for it, check it yourself. There are other studies that have taken place and that conclude the same thing, that foreign occupation increases terrorism, increases radicalization. In fact, there was a research done that correlates drone attacks to rise of extremism, and this has been accepted by military leaders in the US, but they still do it. Why? Because the infrastructure's there. It's been the investments have taken place.
I totally agree. Oppression, injustice leads to extremism in all its variants, in all its colors.
And also, Saif, would you also agree in this day and age that the religion or the countries that are mostly under warfare occupation are Muslim countries? Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Palestine. Okay, brilliant.
I'm not going to comment on why or where the conflict starts, but it's a big discussion, many discussions.
And that's why, I mean, I've got Asr prayer and sun's coming down. Even last week I delayed it also. I'm going to pray 5 minutes and then I can come back and we can speak, but if you have to go, I can understand.
I'll see my friend if we have to go.
She's there.
Or that, I'll see you next week.
I'll say, wallahi, it was a real pleasure speaking to you.
You too also.
And speaking to people like yourself that, you know, have seen certain things, but they're still able to have a rational, a positive, you have a mashallah nice smile also.
Thank you.
It's really needed. And I encourage that also. And I'll be here, I'm not going to be here next week, I'll probably be here the week after, inshallah. So if you want to speak, I have a channel on YouTube called Smile2Jannah.
Smile2Jannah, okay.
So if you ever want to kind of hook up for a cup of tea or something, message me on Instagram, inshallah.
Okay.
And Smile is back. And we can meet, inshallah.
It was a pleasure.
Pleasure. Look
Thank
after
you.
yourself, safe, inshallah.
Paid interview. Just go in like.
Thank you for being willing to discuss with me.
Nice one,
I live in Norway. In Norway, there's very few Arabs. There's very few Muslims generally, and I know people can be ugly on the internet. I know that what a lot of people think about